Good morning, class. Today we'll study an important chapter in the story of global peace and diplomacy. The non-aligned movement, often called NAM, it was not just a political grouping, it was a moral voice of newly independent nations who refused to bow to the pressures of the Cold War superpowers. Let's see what non-alignment really meant, what its objectives were, and how India and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru played a leading role in shaping it. After World War II, the world was divided into two rival blocs, one led by the United States, the capitalist bloc, and the other by the Soviet Union, the communist bloc. Both tried to influence the newly independent countries of Asia and Africa. However, these nations, fresh from colonial rule, wanted to stay free from great power politics. This desire gave rise to the non-aligned movement, formally launched at the Belgrade Conference in 1961. Non-alignment means not aligning with or joining any military alliance led by the USA or USSR. It doesn't mean neutrality, rather it means freedom to make decisions based on national interest and principles of peace. Non-aligned countries could cooperate with both blocs but refuse to become pawns in their rivalry. The non-aligned movement had several noble objectives. First, to preserve the newly gained independence of nations in foreign affairs. Second, to fight against all forms of colonialism, imperialism, and racial discrimination. Third, to promote world peace, disarmament, and development. Fourth, to strengthen solidarity among developing nations, the so-called Third World. And finally, to make the international system fairer and more equal. One of the guiding philosophies behind NAM was Panchsheel, or the Five Principles of Peaceful Coexistence. These were signed in 1954 between India and China. They emphasized mutual respect, non-aggression, and peaceful coexistence. These principles became the moral foundation of the non-aligned movement. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was one of the chief architects of the non-aligned movement. He believed that peace could not be maintained through power blocks, but through dialogue and understanding. Under his leadership, India maintained friendly ties with both the USA and the USSR while staying independent in decision-making. Nehru also promoted Afro-Asian unity and played a leading role in organizing the Bandung Conference in 1955, which laid the foundation for NAM. The non-aligned movement was not the vision of one leader, but a collective dream of several great statesmen. Its founding architects were Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru from India, Josip Broz Tito from Yugoslavia, Gamal Abdel Nasser from Egypt, Sukarno from Indonesia, and Kwame Nkrumah from Ghana. Together, they became symbols of independence, peace, and Third World solidarity. The Bandung Conference, held in Indonesia in 1955, was a turning point. It brought together 29 newly independent nations from Asia and Africa. They declared their commitment to peace, non-alignment, and cooperation. This conference laid the groundwork for the formal establishment of the non-aligned movement in 1961. The first NAM summit took place in Belgrade, Yugoslavia in 1961. It was attended by 25 countries. Nehru, Nasser, and Tito led the discussions. The summit emphasized disarmament, economic cooperation, and the peaceful settlement of disputes. It marked the birth of NAM as an organized force in world politics. NAM gave a collective voice to the newly independent countries that had long been silent under colonial rule. It prevented the Cold War from expanding into the developing world by encouraging neutrality and peace. NAM also promoted economic cooperation among nations of the global south, building a sense of unity among developing countries. India played a continuous and constructive role in the non-aligned movement. At the 1983 NAM summit in New Delhi, India called for disarmament, peace, and a new economic world order. India also supported the end of apartheid in South Africa and stood by decolonization movements in Asia and Africa. Through NAM, India strengthened its moral and diplomatic influence in world affairs. To conclude, the non-aligned movement was not merely a political stance. It was a movement for moral independence and global justice. It allowed developing nations to choose peace over power politics. Even today, its message remains relevant that peace, cooperation, and equality must guide the conduct of nations. Through leaders like Nehru, India gave the world a new diplomatic philosophy, one based on dignity, dialogue, and independence. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed our journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel for more videos.